Days of Our Lives, spoilers update for the week of December 1st, reveals that E.J. DiMera's Italy memory will be triggered while captive Chad DiMera misses the custody hearing. For starters, Javi Hernandez and Leo Stark will have a run-in with Gwen von Leuschner, so there'll be some tension as they offer updates on their engagement. Over with Kat Green, Days spoilers say she'll turn to EJ for a favor. Kat will end up saying or doing something that stirs up a memory for EJ, so he'll think back to when she read to him at that clinic in Italy. As EJ obsesses over that memory and what it means, Kat will be busy extending an offer to Jennifer Horton Devereaux. Perhaps Kat will promise to have no contact with Chad whatsoever if Jennifer and Jack Devereaux will drop their plan to sue for custody of the kids. Then again, maybe Kat will sense that Chad is in trouble and argue that he wouldn't bail on the children willingly. Kat may try to bargain and buy Chad some time before this custody hearing moves forward. Unfortunately, DUL spoilers say the custody hearing will indeed happen, so Chad's obviously going to miss it since he'll still be stuck in the DiMera crypt with Tony DiMera and Kristen DiMera. If the judge thinks Chad is just a deadbeat dad, Jennifer and Jack could easily be granted custody of Thomas DiMera and Charlotte DiMera. After Kayla Johnson gives Marlena Evans confirmation on her diagnosis, Marlena will spend some time opening up to Leo. Since Brady Black was furious over Marlena keeping secrets about Rachel Black, Marlena may admit to Leo that she made a mistake. Although Marlena presumably won't go into the EJ shooter details, she may confess that she screwed up and get Leo's advice for a change. Days spoilers say Leo will definitely lend a sympathetic ear in Marlena's time of need. Once Brady drops Rachel off at Bayview to begin her inpatient stint, the news won't go over well. Rachel will flip out over not being able to go home with Brady, so he'll be crushed as he leaves her behind. Tate Black will make a vow to Brady as he tries to offer some comfort. Later, Holly Jonas will console Tate too, since he'll remain worried about Rachel's mental health. Back with Rachel, Days spoilers say she'll get a Sophia Choi shocker. Sophia isn't really zoned out of reality like she wants everyone to believe, so she'll swear Rachel to secrecy and will become her new Bayview buddy. Elsewhere, Chanel Dupree DiMera and Johnny DiMera will have a disagreement, so we'll see if this involves parenting issues or perhaps ties in with all the DiMera drama instead. Days of Our Lives spoilers say the week of December 15 will bring some conflict and curveballs, so stay tuned. Days of Our Lives spoilers hint that Joy Wesley's baby surprise will inevitably rock Alex Kyriakis' world and deliver Stephanie Johnson's worst nightmare. In Duel's November 25th episode, Chanel Dupree DiMera opened up to Alex and Stephanie about the exhaustion of new parenthood. Since Chanel was basically telling baby horror stories, it's easy to see why the topic made Stephanie uncomfortable. Although Stephanie was a bit of a baby whisperer with little Trey DiMera, she also got spit up on in the midst of calming him down. That couldn't have helped Stephanie's view of little ones, despite how nice she was about it. Stephanie made it clear that while she loves babysitting cuddle time, she also appreciates being able to give the baby back at the end of the night. Once Alex realized Stephanie had some reservations about being a mom, he questioned her about that. It's obvious that Stephanie feels like kids are some faraway thing, while Alex would like to have them much sooner. Although Stephanie suggested they should just table this discussion, they may not be able to do that for long. That's because when Joy exited Salem back in March, she lied about her pregnancy being a false alarm. Days fans know that the results actually showed Joy was expecting, so she left town lying to Alex and Stephanie. Joy can't get away with that lie forever, so what happens after the baby's born? There are a few ways Days could play this, depending on whether they want to make Joy a full-time player again. Joy could blow up Alex's world with some honesty and offer the chance to co-parent this little one. Days viewers might see Joy arrive on Alex's doorstep with a newborn and an admission at some point. Joy might decide that after meeting their bundle of joy, she can't hide Alex's son or daughter from him. Of course, it's also possible Alex could find out another way. Alex plans on trying to make it out to some of Stephanie's book tour stops, so maybe he could spot Joy either heavily pregnant or holding a baby in another city. Alex might do the math and realize Joy must have deceived him, so that could lead to quite a confrontation. A third option might be if Joy realizes she's not cut out for parenthood and ditches the baby at Alex's door with a note explaining everything. That could thrust Stephanie into a motherly role long before she's ready. Regardless, Alex has baby in his future, so Stephanie will have to decide if she can handle having an infant in her life way sooner than she intended. Days of Our Lives spoilers hint that Alex and Stephanie's romance will be tested once they get updates on some baby news, so stay tuned. Ever since we learned Days of Our Lives EJ was teaming up with Gwen to work on a super-secret science project at the new clinic, we've been utterly baffled by what they were planning. Now, finally, all the pieces are falling into place, and we think we've figured out what's going on. Our suspicions started after Days of Our Lives' big winter preview when we saw EJ showing Paulina, of all people, who was in the cryogenic chamber. And after watching Monday's episode, we were sure of it. It's not Stefano being revived, but Lexi. Think about it. On Monday's episode, the show cut from Abe thinking back to asking EJ for help to get Theo out of DiMera to the lab. Right after we heard Abe railing against Lexi's family, EJ visited the cryogenic tube to spend Thanksgiving with whoever's in there who passes for his family. It could be his dad, since it certainly seems like the phoenix is rising again. But really, why would EJ want that? Yes, bringing Stefano back would almost definitely result in Theo being booted from the CEO position, but that would be because he'd take back over. EJ's dad was hugely problematic and evil, even for him, and when Stefano was around, EJ often had to play second fiddle to the Phoenix's plans. But if he could revive Lexi to convince her son that being head of DiMera was horrible, then EJ could step in himself. We were a bit stuck on how Gwen would be involved with this, since she likely wouldn't care one way or another about Lexi being revived. But EJ needed funding for this project, and he clearly enticed it from her by promising a big payout. If Lexi's been on ice instead of dead, and EJ's had Dr. Rolf and Mark working on a treatment to cure her brain tumors to bring her back, that could be scaled up and marketed. A brain tumor cure? Or even, dare they hope, a cancer cure? As gross as it is to profit off of something so beneficial to humanity, Gwen's investment would make her and EJ rich beyond anything they could dream of. Abe may not be aware of what EJ's trying to do, only that his former brother-in-law promised to help get Theo out of DiMera. Maybe that's why EJ decides to show Paulina what's coming. There's no love lost between them, so he may get a twisted kick out of seeing her panic about her beloved Abe running back to his no-longer-dead wife. And as for Abe, he'd be thrust front and center into one heck of a front-burner story as he grappled with Lexi's return. At a time he seems more steady than ever in his love of Paulina, Abe and Paulina just about have Thanksgiving dinner ready at Chanel and Johnny's, but they're still waiting for Theo to show up. The CEO in question is trying to read through and make sense of business documents and the nonsense jargon crammed in, so he just ignores Abe's texts and calls asking where he is. The family decides to give him some more time, so they talk about Marlena's health issues, then Sarah's health issues. Happy Thanksgiving, all! They do turn things around with a video call with Lonnie and family, then jump into Abe's issues with Liam. This family just insists on bringing things down. EJ rehashes to Gwen the need to keep everyone distracted about what's actually going on in the free clinic, but he gets interrupted when Julie calls asking for Chad. Gwen's happy to bash the Hortons and their treatment of Chad, but they get derailed again when Theo calls EJ asking for help with the contract, so EJ runs over to DiMera, ditching Gwen to spend Thanksgiving alone. That lasts about 2 seconds of her scoffing, then leaving to find my own fun. EJ shows up to parse through the legalese, but Theo stops him from getting involved directly, saying he'll handle it. He just needs advice since Uncle Tony's MIA. EJ gives him a pep talk, promises he's looking for Tony, and he'll help come up with a plan. They wrap up, and Theo finally decides to rush over to Johnny and Chanel's for Thanksgiving. Paulina chides him good-naturedly for being late, and Theo apologizes, saying work at DiMera never stops. Abe takes it surprisingly well to learn that Theo turned to EJ for help. "Oh, well, that's good, son." But then, after Paulina tells Abe how proud she is of her hubby, he chuckles away, thinking back to asking EJ for help booting Theo from DiMera. Sneaky? Holly and Maggie are treating Sarah with kid gloves as they bring her home after her allergic reaction. She's cagey about what happened, which clearly worries Maggie. Luckily, Holly's too involved in herself, waiting to hear from Tate to pay attention. The teen then says she'll probably spend Christmas in Paris with Eric and Nicole. Maggie notes that Bonnie and Justin are in Chicago, and Bonnie flew in Justin's twins to surprise him, who we have never met. Neither has Holly, apparently. When talk turns to school, she tells her family who she lives with, but apparently never talks to, that she just got an internship with Stephanie. They're impressed, but Maggie warns Holly to be careful with Stephanie's book fan mail and overzealous fans. Well, that seems, pointed. A very drunk Xander stumbles from the bathroom to bed and torments himself looking at a photo of Sarah. He heads out to nurse some coffee in the square, where Gwen finds him, grabs him, and demands they spend Thanksgiving together. More. Is Wes Ramsey returning to Days? She takes him back to the DiMera mansion to serve him a proper English breakfast, which does the hangover trick. After some prompting, Xander tells Gwen about the latest drama. He and Sarah are divorced. She took custody of Victoria and Sarah's making eyes at Brady. Oh dear! No wonder you drank yourself into oblivion. But at least they have each other. As friends, Xander's appreciative, but wants to know what Gwen's getting out of this. Nothing, she snaps at him. After they finish dinner, Holly checks on Victoria and Maggie, flat out asks Sarah what's going on with the allergic reaction. Sarah admits it wasn't an accident, but she can't say more. The Carver/Price family finish up their own dinner, and Johnny waxes on about how thankful he is to be a part of their family. And EJ, meanwhile, gets to the lab to spend Thanksgiving with the cryotube and the closest he has to his loved ones. Rolf's close to a breakthrough, and EJ hopes it means, "I'll be seeing you again very soon." Days of Our Lives spoilers reveal that Kristen DiMera has formed some odd friendships in the past. It seems that she could be forming another one. With Belle Black learning about the woman's sacrifice for Rachel Black, they could connect in an interesting way after the kidnapping storyline resolves. Keep reading and let's talk about it. Let's start off by talking about Kristen and Tony DiMera's kidnapping. Although both are missing, no one has made the connection. After all, they were on two completely separate continents when it happened. Besides that, everyone assumes that Kristen escaped prison when she was actually kidnapped. For months, Belle and Black both raged over Kristen being such a bad mother and being so selfish. However, Kristen didn't tell Brady the whole truth and swore Marlena Evans to secrecy. For a long time, Rachel didn't remember shooting EJ DiMera. However, that all changed when Rachel purposely gave Sarah Horton a severe allergic reaction. It's lucky that Sarah was able to nod yes when Brady asked about an EpiPen. Then, Roman Brady immediately called 911. Days of Our Lives spoilers reveal that Rachel told her father about her memory. Now the little girl is in the hospital under observation. Once a juvenile bed opens up at Bayview, Rachel will be transferred there for mental health treatment. However, that is not Brady's only battle. Once his daughter is getting inpatient help, he will focus on what to do about Kristen. If she weren't a fugitive right now, it might be easier to get her cleared. Once Rachel gets out of the hospital and is better, Kristen might be home as well. The whole truth will come out eventually. However, Brady feels incredibly guilty. For a really long time, Kristen was a terrible mother, but her love was clear. Ever since Rachel started acting out, Kristen has realized that her daughter is copying her. However, sometimes parenting corrections come a little too late. Back to Kristen, she once had an odd friendship with Lonnie Price Grant. As far as I know, the two are still friends, but they live in different states. I, for one, loved the odd friendship between the two women. With Lonnie gone, could Belle and Kristen become BFFs next? Maybe Belle finding out about Kristen's sacrifice will have her looking at the villain a bit differently. A Days of Our Lives. Spoilers and updates tease that, according to the new winter preview, bones are found in the DiMera Crypt, and they're not found in anyone's marked mausoleum spot. Whose bones are dug up, and who put them there? Those are the important questions that must be answered. One by one, several DiMeras have been trapped in the crypt first. Tony DiMera, then Kristen DiMera, who was kidnapped from prison. The latest DiMera to be kidnapped and put in the crypt is Chad DiMera, and he looked pretty beaten up. It doesn't appear he was taken willingly. Plus, Whoever did it sent a text to Julie Williams' phone from Chad's, so it's someone very familiar with the family. In the winter preview, it looks like even Theo Carver has been kidnapped. He's seen handling the bones. The only DiMera not in the crypt is EJ DiMera, and Kristen suspects he's behind all the kidnappings. She mentioned her suspicions to Tony. When Tony and Kristen first looked around to try and find a way of escape, they couldn't help but notice a family member's crypt drawer had the name plaque removed. The Phoenix, Stefano DiMera, was missing. He's probably in the cryogenic tube that Rafe Hernandez and Paulina Carver are shown later in the preview. There's no way someone is going to take the bones of the family patriarch and rebury them in the floor of the crypt. That seems to be what Kristen is chipping away at when Chad arrives. And also in the preview, EJ asks if there's an ID on the bones, and Rafe makes an announcement. Obviously, by that time the captive DiMeras have been rescued from the crypt, but there's a clue. After Rafe's announcement of a positive ID, Kristen is seen crying. It never was revealed what happened to Abigail DiMera's remains after Clyde Weston claimed she survived. And Jack Devereaux and Chad found her grave empty. Clyde went into an indeterminate coma after he was shot by Katharina Green, Kat Green's mother, so any more of the secret cannot be revealed. Even though it would be appropriate for a DiMera wife to be interred in the family crypt, it's not likely to be Abigail's bones, based on Kristen's tearful breakdown. Kristen's brother, Peter Blake, is returning to Salem. And there must be a reason for that, even though Kristen may cry about Rachel Black being put in Bayview. Chances are, the bones will be revealed as belonging to Kristen and Peter's mother, Rachel Blake. The Tuesday, December 2nd episode of Days of Our Lives brings emotional confrontations, uneasy alliances, and a turning point for Marlena's health. Leo and Javi's wedding planning takes an unexpected detour when they cross paths with Gwen. Kat corners EJ with a plea he may not want to hear. Kayla delivers difficult medical news. Belle leans on Paulina, and Brady faces a heartbreaking struggle with Rachel. Leo and Javi's path to the altar has hardly been smooth, but Tuesday's episode adds another bump when the couple unexpectedly crosses paths with Gwen. Their history with her, especially Leo's, has always been scratchy at best, and this encounter threatens to stir up old wounds. Gwen's reaction could either fuel the tension or reveal something surprising, but one thing is certain. Leo and Javi are reminded that Salem rarely lets anyone move forward without revisiting the past. Meanwhile, Kat finds herself backed into a corner and goes straight to EJ for help. Whatever she's dealing with clearly demands DiMera-level leverage, and EJ's response is poised to set off a new wave of complications. His involvement rarely comes without strings, and Kat will have to decide how much she's willing to risk by pulling him in. Kayla delivers Marlena's confirmed diagnosis, a moment that sends shockwaves through the family. This news forces everyone close to Marlena to confront what comes next, and Kayla handles the moment with her signature steadiness. The diagnosis becomes the emotional anchor of the episode, shifting several storylines and setting up difficult decisions ahead. Belle, shaken by Marlena's situation, turns to Paulina for support. Their scenes bring heart and grounding to the episode, as Belle tries to stay strong while facing familiar fears about losing someone she loves. Brady's ongoing struggle with Rachel reaches another emotional turning point. He desperately wants to reach her after learning she shot EJ, but the distance between father and daughter only seems to widen. Tuesday's episode highlights Brady's heartbreak as he continues fighting for Rachel. Johnny and Chanel finally brought baby T home on Days of Our Lives. And the sweetness of that moment hits a little differently when you remember how hard-fought Chanel's path has been, on screen and off. And right in the middle of that joy, Raven Bowens peeled back the curtain on a journey that almost took her somewhere completely different. Her story isn't the typical right role at the right time arc. It's one of those zigzag Hollywood rides where the job you didn't get ends up becoming the life that fits. Bowens appeared on Maurice Benard's State of Mind, and the conversation drifted toward the moment she nearly landed in Port Charles. She talked about auditioning for General Hospital's Trina Robinson early in her career, remembering how kind and grounding the process felt. "Mark Teschner is one of my favorite casting directors to this day," she said, describing how seen she felt in those early auditions. There was even a meeting with executive producer Frank Valentini, a moment that told her she was close, but maybe not quite the puzzle piece they needed. She didn't sugarcoat it. She knew the age range wasn't quite working in her favor. "I think I was a little older than they needed," she admitted, but she didn't frame it as a missed shot. She framed it the way actors do when they've been around long enough to spot fate's fingerprints. Something meant for her simply hadn't shown up yet. She told Bernard, "I knew I was going to be on a soap opera. I always knew." Her acting coach drilled her on old issues of Soap Opera Digest, insisting she study the genre. And ironically, that same coach got hooked on GH after seeing the Sunnylicious ads, something Bowens jokingly reminded Bernard he was responsible for. When days called years later, it wasn't with a straight line. It was more like a reroute. Bowens had screen-tested, hit all the beat-its, and still walked away empty-handed. She told Bernard how jarring that was after a strong audition. "And then I was like, oh, okay," she said, remembering the heartbreak of thinking it was hers. That's when the drought hit, the stretch where even the most resilient actors start questioning whether waitressing might outlast the dream. Then, right in the middle of one of those emotional spirals, life shifted. First came a chemistry test she didn't get. Then came Mrs. Maisel. And then, on her birthday, came the email that changed everything. Days wanted her after all. She didn't need another audition, just confirmation she was comfortable with the updated character breakdown. It was the same role, a different door. She started work on her grandmother's birthday. She named her first storyline after her grandmother, and she began her run with 15 episodes worth of dialogue in the first week. A trial by fire she now laughs about because she came out the other side stronger. "Once I did it, I was like, okay, I can do anything," she said, sounding like someone recognizing their own foundation for the first time. And 5 years later, she's right where she should be. Billy Flynn's young and the restless character, Kane Ashby, is at the center of much corporate drama, intrigue, and AI shenanigans over at CBS. However, on Peacock's Days of Our Lives, the actor had an eventful month portraying the pain his character endured. Chad DiMera dealt with his son, who wanted nothing to do with him. Plus, his mother-in-law threatened to take his kids away. Meanwhile, Alice Halsey's Rachel Black initiated a brutal scheme, and as a result, she remembered a buried secret. For these things, and so much more, Flynn and Halsey are the Days Performers of the Month for November 2025. Earlier this month, Soap Hub's Rochelle Lewis singled out Alice Halsey and called her Days' best new villain. The thing is, while Halsey's Rachel Black commits some seriously villainous acts, you understand why she is the way she is. Her mother is Kristen DiMera, and her father, Brady Black, has dealt with addiction issues over the years. She has experienced more than her fair share of trauma, and her antics have only increased in seriousness and severity. This year alone, she shot EJ, sent a pumpkin catapulting towards Cat Green, and poisoned Sarah with pistachio ice cream. The gist is, Rachel is troubled, and she isn't able to stop herself from unleashing holy hell on the adults of Salem. At the same time, she had to say goodbye to her mom, who was carted off to prison. Growing up with messed-up parents who often take their anger out on each other hasn't done wonders for Rachel. The girl is antisocial, she has a pet snake, and she's a bad influence. In November, her actions had consequences. She was grounded for the pumpkin incident. Her conscience woke up too late with Sarah, who ended up in the hospital. And now she's in the hospital, waiting to start a stint at Bayview. And through it all, Halsey continually shone as she gave one powerhouse performance after another. Halsey made us feel for Rachel, even when it's difficult to sympathize with her. She won't let us write her character off. When Rachel suddenly and mostly temporarily sprouts a conscience, we see that she feels bad for the hell that she wrought. The girl is unpredictable, formidable, and even scary. Halsey digs deep and perfectly portrays the necessary emotions of any given scene, which include anger, fear, guilt, and the thrill that comes with devising yet another sinister scheme. It's a strange thing to see Flynn on two different networks doing his thing. On CBS's Y&R, his character is more involved in the action than Chad is on Days. However, in November, it was great to see him on the Peacock app tackling material worthy of his talents. the Cat Green situation finally imploded, leading to a showdown between Chad and his mother-in-law. She couldn't accept the fact that Chad had feelings for the woman who pretended to be Abigail. Before November started, Chad had ended things with Cat. He sacrificed the relationship for his family, especially for his son, who was unhappy with his father after discovering the truth. Thomas's anger hasn't really disappeared because he kept catching his dad talking to Cat in the middle of Horton Town Square. Things got worse when Thomas ran into traffic after he spotted Chad comforting Cat. Jennifer already had a huge issue with Chad over the Cat factor, but after a car hit Thomas, her anger and her thirst for so-called justice escalated. She is now suing Chad for custody of the kids. Jennifer Horton actually thinks that her son-in-law is a bad father and that his choices indicate he cannot adequately care for his children. She wants Thomas and Charlotte to head to Boston, where she and Jack will raise the kids. This heightened scenario meant that Flynn had to bust out his character's temper as he stood up to Jennifer, telling her she wouldn't get the chance to take his kids away from him. Chad also exhibited a lot of hurt over this betrayal by a family member. And we saw Chad's insecurities over having to start all over again and re-enter the dating scene. Chad signed up for a dating app. Despite being one half of Days of Our Lives super couple John and Marlena, for nearly 4 decades, Deidre Hall admits she has another favorite Salem super couple. During a recent interview with Swoon, Hall revealed that it was Doug and Julie's wedding that solidified them as her favorite super couple in Salem. "I didn't understand about couples on soaps when I first started on Days," Hall admitted, noting that Doug and Julie married not long after she joined the show. Fans had come to the parking lot of the studio to see it. "I soon realized that this is really a thing." Doug and Julie married on October 1st, 1976, a television event that drew in 16 million viewers. Their portrayers, Bill and Susan Hayes, secretly wed in real life 2 years prior and remained together until Bill Hayes' death in 2024. Hall remembered filming the wedding scenes, recalling Seaforth Hayes' courtesy to her fellow co-stars. "In that moment, I didn't know her. It took a long time to shoot the scenes. At one point, she turned to all of us in the pews and said to us, 'I know it's taking a long time. Thank you for your patience.' She was carrying the whole hour." Of course, while Doug and Julie were Hall's answer, John and Marlena weren't forgotten about. Several Days stars named Jarlena their favorite super couple when Swoon asked, including James Reynolds, New Raven Bowens, D. Robert Scott Wilson, and Martha Madison. "I don't think you can beat them," Madison said, while Eric Martsolf admitted, "I've got to go with Dad and Mom, John and Marlena on that one. Damn, just the strawberries and bubble baths alone." Welcome to Days of Our Lives Daily YAPP for a quick, and by that I mean you're already halfway done, recap of the most amazing or what the heck did we just watch moments on today's episode. Let's get to it. Someone remembered that Justin Kyriakis had twin sons today. And it first got us wondering if we will ever meet Alex's brothers. Then, it reminded us of how Justin and Adrian became the parents to so many boys all those years ago. The twins are adopted, and just after adopting them, Adrian learned she was pregnant. And it looks like history is about to repeat itself in Salem. After so much heartache, Johnny and Chanel finally adopted a baby boy. And, according to the New Days of Our Lives winter preview, Chanel is about to learn she is pregnant, meaning lots of babies for Johnny and Chanel, and lots of stress for Johnny. It can't be a coincidence that the week we get a Kyriakis twins mention, we are going to see Johnny and Chanel do a repeat performance of their parents. That makes us believe they are indeed headed to Salem. We already know Sonny Kyriakis and Alex Kyriakis, so what will these twin men be like when they arrive on the Salem scene? Days has been giving us so many blasts from the past of late that it will feel a little bit like the 1980s and 90s in Salem soon. We old fans can't complain because that is the Salem we grew up with, so bring it on. Want more details? We got you! Soap Central has the best full duel recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not, seriously, do not Forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the as close as we can come to being a watching party without actually being a show. And the best part is, if you agree or disagree, we want to know. As always, share your comments below. Days of Our Lives spoilers for Tuesday, December 2nd, reveal that Kayla Johnson confirms Marlena Evans's diagnosis, and more. Read on for soap opera news full breakdown of what's coming up. Marlena's still stuck in the hospital, and not even the holiday gave her a break. She's fighting an infection that just refuses to respond to antibiotics, and on top of that, doctors had to put in a temporary pacemaker. The good news is she made it through the procedure, apparently, but now Kayla's coming in with an update. And if spoilers are to be believed, she's about to confirm Marlena's official diagnosis. So is our doc gearing up for another long, bumpy ride? Meanwhile, Leo and Javi have a run-in with Gwen that's, well, a little scratchier than your average hello. Gwen isn't exactly Leo's biggest fan. It's hard to blame her, considering everything that went down with Dimitri. Add in the fact that Leo and Javi are now engaged, and things get even more interesting. Could this tense encounter spark a conversation Gwen wasn't ready to have? Or maybe reveal news she definitely didn't expect to hear this soon? Elsewhere, Kat turns to EJ for help, which is ironic, considering she's secretly working against him. She's practically living a double life at this point, so if she's willing to ask him for something, whatever she needs must be very important. Whether she's setting a trap, covering her tracks, or actually needs him for something legitimate, we'll find out soon enough. Over in another corner of Salem, Belle seeks support from Paulina. The big mystery is why. Is she dealing with something personal, legal, family-related? At this point, your guess is as good as ours, but the fact that she goes to Paulina specifically suggests it's something that really matters. Maybe that thing with Rachel? Speaking of Rachel, Day's spoilers for December 2nd confirm that Brady struggles to get through to Rachel. It looks like he's once again facing that wall he just can't seem to break down. Whether she'll finally listen or shut him out remains to be seen. EJ holds Wuthering Heights in his hands and hears Kat's voice reading its contents. Brady leaves Rachel at Bayview. When he leaves the room, he weeps as his daughter screams for him. Later, Rachel meets Sophia. Stephanie walks into a hotel for her book tour. Outside, the man in black leather approaches. Jennifer wastes no time going to court as a judge asks Thomas how long it's been since he's heard from his father. What are you looking forward to next week? Sound off in the comments and watch the video clip below. Days of Our Lives draws to a close for 2025. And we want to look at some of the messiest couples of the year. These are really bad romances that we saw this year. We're going to count down from the number 5 bad romance all the way to number 1, the very worst pairing of the year on the Peacock soap. All right, the couple that ranked number 5 on our bad romance list of 2025 is Jada Hunter and Rafe Hernandez. We knew Jada and Rafe were doomed. That poor man cannot keep a long-term relationship, usually through no fault of his own. He is smart, he's hunky, he's handsome. It never works out for him. Jada and Rafe found love at work, and things were great for a while. Even though, of course, she got his job. But when Arnold Finnegar strolled back into Salem to blackmail EJ DiMera, after years of being presumed dead, everything went off the rails for Jada and Rafe. Arnold took Rafe's place, while EJ held Rafe captive. Long story short, Arnold pretended to be Rafe. He broke Jada's heart and almost got her fired as part of his plotting with EJ. But even after Rafe was rescued, it was too late. The damage was done. It didn't help that, in the interim, Jada slept with Sean Brady. She had to confess that. Rafe forgave Jada, but she found out Rafe slept with his ex-wife, Sammy Brady. They just couldn't move past their mutual infidelities. Rafe tried again with Sammy off-screen, but it fizzled. Jada is out there right now looking for love. All right, the next bad romance, number 4 on our list, is a pairing that involves Brady Black. This man has a taste for toxic women and so many bad romances in his past. Another bad girl he got involved with, even though she was semi-redeemed, was Ava Vitale. They started up in 2024, but it lasted and carried over into 2025. So that's why we're including it this year. The Their relationship began on a platonic note in late 2024. They were unlikely allies against hillbilly criminal Clyde Weston. Then sparks began flying for Ava and Brady. That was fine, but they had a heck of a time going on a real date, or even exploring the romance, because of Brady's toxic daughter, Rachel Black, and her non-stop pranks. In early 2025, the romance between Ava and Brady finally blossomed. They got intimate and declared mutual feelings for each other. However, Rachel never stops meddling. She harassed Ava with terrible texts. Eventually, Rachel lured Ava. There, Rachel and her crazy namesake grandma, Rachel Blake, actually held Ava captive. Brady thought Ava left town to see her son Trip in Africa. Later, Steve and Brady figured out she didn't go to the other continent. With Rachel being so psycho, Ava decided to walk away. She decided the romance with Brady was too toxic because of his toxic little daughter. And that was quite accurate. It was a bad romance. Next on our list, the number 3 terrible romance of 2025, EJ DiMera and Belle Black. I actually liked EJ and Belle together, but it turned out really bad. They had a one-night stand back in 2022, but then Martha Madison was part of that mass upheaval where they took out a lot of actresses on days. She got severely blackballed and decided to walk away. Fast forward. The bad producer was gone, and a lot of women came back. On New Year's Eve 2024, EJ invited Belle to be his date for a DiMera New Year's party. In early 2025, after EJ drove Belle home from Jada's bachelorette party, their chemistry reignited. EJ and Belle kept their relationship secret at first, even when they started hitting the sheets. But EJ's shady dealings made Belle take a step back. It was like one step forward, one step back. Then EJ got shot and went into a coma. He was fighting for his life. That's when Belle finally confessed and told EJ she loved him while he was in a coma.